Welcome to this special program highlighting our community's upcoming volunteering fair. I am Leon Berthume, representing the Rotary Club, and I'm excited to be your host today. The volunteering fair is just around the corner, and it's a wonderful opportunity for neighbors, families, students, and professionals alike to discover how they can give back and get involved with causes that matter right here at home. Today I'm joined by two special guests who are not only involved in organizing the fair, but who also deeply understand the impact of volunteering in our community. I will invite them to introduce themselves and how they are currently involved in our community. Thank you for both being here. Erin?
Hi, thank you, Leon. My name's Erin Creeley. I'm the District Director for the St. Albans Office of Local Health, which is part of Vermont Department of Health. I live here in St. Albans. I've volunteered in many different ways in our community. I'm part of Rotary. I've been a member of the Select Board and the Planning Commission here in St. Albans Town, and I love being a part of this community and finding ways for us all to give back.
Fantastic. Megan?
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me here today. I'm Megan Bridges, Director of Partner and Volunteer Engagement at United Way of Northwest Vermont. We cover Chittenden, Franklin, and Grand Isle counties. I've been at United Way for 16 years, always helping with volunteer engagement, from seniors to youth to corporate groups and the general community. So I love talking about volunteering, so thank you for having me today.
Well, we're looking forward to hearing from both of you as we talk about the volunteering fair.
Yes.
So we'll start with what inspired the idea behind the volunteering fair? Erin?
Yeah, great question. So last summer, there was a lot of great community conversations about what it means to support your neighbor, to work together for a common cause. It was initially focused around how do we help our unhoused neighbors and folks that may be suffering from substance use, and how do we be good neighbors to each other. In that conversation, we realized that one of the best ways to support and help your neighbor is to know your neighbors, and one of the best ways to know your neighbor is to volunteer. So with the support of many other organizations and community groups and faith organizations, there was a group that came together to start having conversations about how we can work together, and one of those ways was the volunteering fair. So we're very excited that after months of discussion and planning, we're bringing the volunteer fair here to the first time to St. Albans and Franklin County.
Great. So tell us what people can expect at this volunteering fair.
Yes, so we are right now looking at about 30 to 40 organizations that have registered. Those range from club groups that support volunteering and also other activities, which we'll talk about a little bit more. So you can picture something akin to the St. Albans Rotary Expo or another sort of fair, maybe a career fair or a college fair, where there's multiple tables with I was about to say vendors, but they're not vendors. They're volunteer organizations looking for folks that are wanting to find the right match for their time and their energy, knowing that all of our time is precious. Getting a chance to meet multiple organizations at the same time will be one of the highlights of the volunteer fair. And we're also going to have presentations on what it means to be a volunteer, how do you get engaged, perhaps some conversation around volunteer to career, how do you make that transition, and then also some practical workshops on some techniques that people can use to support their neighbors.
That's wonderful to have so many organizations really interested in being part of the volunteering fair. And then I think the panel discussions I think will be valuable as well.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little bit more about some of the organizations or again volunteer groups that are going to be at the fair?
Yes, so the exciting thing about the volunteer fair is there is a whole spectrum for folks of all ages, for all interests. So whether you like spending time outside and you want to volunteer on trails to improve mountain biking trails or other ways for families to recreate, that's going to be some of the options that are there. If you're concerned about clean water and getting engaged with cleaning up Lake Champlain, that's also another group that will be there to talk about runoff. There's also ways of giving back to feed your neighbors, whether that's through a food shelf or through gleaning produce from farms to be able to collect that produce and then bring that to food shelves for more folks to access. There's healthcare related ones, so if you have a background in a clinical training, you could bring those skills on a very part-time basis to help your community with health needs that folks are experiencing. There's transportation. Do you have time and you like to drive? Perfect. We've got volunteer organizations that are looking for drivers to move folks around and help them get to appointments. Really, if you can think of it, if you like working with animals, if you like working with kids, we've got something at the volunteer fair that hopefully will spark for you and will be a new lifelong passion.
This is really a great opportunity to be able to explore and learn even about the organizations that are right here
Correct.
serving Franklin County. And I think that's as important part of the volunteering fair is really learning from what we have to offer. So what are the times and the location of the volunteering fair?
Very important question. Where can you meet all these fine folks? So we are hosting the fair on Thursday, May 22nd from 3 to 6 p.m. at the St. Albans City Hall. And it's going to be both in the main hall itself and then also in the council chambers. That's where we're going to have the presentations.
Okay, great. So let's go to why is volunteering so important in our community? And I'll start with Megan on that.
Yes, so nonprofits play such a critical role of meeting the essential human needs. And I don't think folks realize how important volunteers are to meet these essential services. Nonprofits really do rely on the help that people bring, the skills, the time, and it really just is part of the solution. It's essential that we have volunteers helping out.
Erin, anything you would like to add to that?
Yeah, I also want to highlight what Megan said around the importance for the organizations and also for individuals and your neighbors. The more we know each other, the more likely we're going to be able to have conversations around what matters. A lot of folks talk about how sometimes it's hard to get to know your neighbors or have conversations. Volunteering is a way of meeting folks that maybe you've never met before, forming new friendships and connections, and that's the basis of a well-functioning civic organization and society. So hopefully that's another benefit to volunteering.
So when we look at the volunteering fair, everyone is welcome. So what would you say in terms of what's just the benefit of just dropping into the volunteering fair?
Yeah, for dropping in, I think it's going to be a fun time. So if you're on Main Street and you want to stop in, there's going to be a lot of energy, a lot of enthusiasm. This isn't a hard sell. There's not going to be folks jumping at you saying, hey, you need to volunteer here. This is a low pressure environment. We want folks to feel welcome. And if it's a rainy day, come on in, get out of the rain. If it's a sunny day, just enjoy that energy with folks. So if you're just popping in, you don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know what could be inspiring to you. And maybe you're going with your kids. Maybe your kids need to meet some obligations for graduation, volunteer hours. And there may be something that sparks for you as well. There may be something you and your kiddo can appreciate together.
Well, I think that's true, especially when you're talking with high schools and high school students. Majority of the high schools in Franklin County do require some community service with some number of hours. And then also the National Honor Society clubs also require community service. So this is a great opportunity for students to explore the opportunities here in Franklin County. So what steps did the organizing team take to ensure there was inclusiveness and making sure we hit a variety of the organizations that you've already spoken to, but how do we go about trying to do the outreach?
Yeah, so there was two pieces to that inclusive planning for this process. So one, we wanted to pick a day and a time that we're hoping is going to work for folks, whether they're transitioning from work to home or school to home or an after-school activity. 3 to 6 seemed to be a sweet spot that folks could hopefully take 30 minutes out of their commute home or in their transition time to stop in and maybe meet the next volunteer organization they want to be a part of. We also have done extensive outreach through the Franklin Grand Isle Partnership, through emails that I've sent out to the local municipalities. And basically, if you're a nonprofit in Franklin County, we've tried our best to reach everyone. Of course, we're not going to make it to everyone. So if you're wondering, hey, I didn't get an invite this time, please let us know. We would love to do this again, and we would love to have more organizations.
Is there still time to register to be part of the volunteering fair?
Depends. I am being cautious of when this is airing. So right now, as we're filming, yes, I would say so. The week of, it may be tight to fit more folks in. So again, the week of the 22nd, we can do our best to fit folks in as best we can. We want to make this as welcoming as possible to all organizations.
How do you think the overall fair can strengthen basically our county's sense of community?
I'll
Yeah,
jump
jump in.
in.
Sure, Megan.
Yeah, so I think people often want to volunteer, but they don't know what the needs are, and they often need to be asked. So this venue is just really a wonderful opportunity to get that ask and learn. So I think it, and we'll talk later about the benefits of what it is to you as a volunteer, but just really understanding the needs and then getting the ask out there. This is just an amazing opportunity. I mean, we saw during COVID, obviously volunteering fell way off. And we're now at a point where folks are ready to get back out there and ready to participate. And this is just a wonderful opportunity to learn and get involved.
Megan, I just want to add to that too. Getting back together, we're getting out of the winter. It's starting to get warm outside. This is a great time to come out, see your neighbors that maybe you've only seen when you've been shoveling the sidewalk. This is one of those springtime events that we hope folks will look to every year on their calendar to get out and see their neighbors.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Megan, what is United Way's role in community volunteer engagement?
So United Way's mission has always been to build a stronger Northwest Vermont through giving, advocating, and volunteering. So we know that mobilizing human resource is just as important as raising dollars. So we have always had an online site we call Volunteer Connection that the nonprofits can post their volunteer needs, and then the community can search it and reach directly to the nonprofit to say, hey, I'm interested. People can build their own volunteer resume in Volunteer Connection. I have over 70 nonprofits in there looking for folks. So that's one way we have mobilized volunteers. We also work with work sites and corporate groups looking to volunteer, which is a great way for team building and to also get out and help the community. And then we've also leaned into older adults and had a couple of programs, AmeriCorps senior programs, where we get folks 55 and over out and sharing their skills, life experience, and then in turn reaping the benefits of the social connection and helping out.
I think you've touched a little bit on this, but maybe expand a little bit about what the benefits are of volunteering.
Yeah. I mean, overwhelming benefits. We know, was it about a year or two ago, that the Surgeon General announced loneliness as an epidemic. So social connection is really key no matter what age you are. It really is a basic human need. And so often people are more and more isolated. I think because of the pandemic, because of technology, your days can pretty much happen at home, and you miss out on that opportunity. Maybe you're working at home, or you're schooling even at home still happens. So this is a touch point to get out in the community. It reduces stress. Maybe you're feeling the world is a little unsettled right now, and this could be a way to maybe cope with that and feel like, okay, I'm doing something. I'm giving back. I'm having a little bit of control. Volunteering also gives folks the opportunity, you mentioned, to gain new skills, and that is really very important, especially for younger folks. You talked about high school students. It's really a great way to test out maybe what am I interested in for my next step in life. And the other thing, again, the older adults sharing their skills and experience. 1 in 3 Vermonters is over age 60. So that's 1/3 of our state, and we need those older Vermonters to get out there and get connected and share their life experiences.
Megan, I just wanted to add on a personal note for myself. When I moved to St. Albans with my husband in 2016, we didn't have kids in the school system. We didn't know how to get connected to folks, and volunteering was my immediate go-to. So for folks that are new to the community or maybe have been here for a bit, but maybe their kids have flown the nest and they're looking to reconnect with other folks in the community, volunteering is another great way to make new friends and to make better connections.
So what can volunteering look like? I mean, what does that mean to you?
It's such a wide variety. It can mean once a month, twice a month volunteering with a coworker to deliver Meals on Wheels. It could mean cleaning a garden. It could mean making a friendly visit to someone who is isolated. You can volunteer in groups. We have parents often that want to find volunteer opportunities with their tweens. Especially, we'll start getting those phone calls this time of year when summer's approaching. How can I get my tween out and about and do something with them? And so the other way is special events. We all know that often things are happening on a Saturday, and get out there and try, just do a one time a year.
Right.
And you get to learn about the organization that way. So
Great. Why is it important to engage young people in community and volunteering?
yeah, I think we've touched on that a little bit already, but the skills building is essential. Learning what is happening again in the community, what needs are out there. We know that high schools make it a requirement. It's really beneficial for your college applications to have volunteering as something that you do. And then learn about potential fields of interest. Explore some different things and see what you might find exciting.
So we'll go to the other extreme. So how do we, again, see that for the older population and getting engaged in the community?
Yeah. As I was saying, the social connection is really key for folks to get out. We host the Bone Builders program. That is an osteoporosis prevention program. It happens in 38 classes around the 3 counties, but we get folks, volunteers lead these classes, weightlifting classes, not lifting, but light weights. And I will tell you, we hear amazing results as far as physical health, but I think almost as much or more the benefits of the connection and what the volunteers, by leading these classes, what the value they're providing to their neighbors is really quite amazing.
So again, let's just kind of recover this area a little bit, but what advice would you give anyone who wants to make a difference but really doesn't know where to start?
Good question. Well, this volunteer festival is a great first place to start.
For sure.
For sure. I think that always looking at the paper, even social media, sometimes you'll see requests pop up, hey, we really could use some extra help moving furniture, or if folks could come out this Sunday, we're doing street cleanup here in downtown. There's organizations that if you were interested, you could follow them on social media. You might meet some of those organizations at the volunteer fair, and then you could keep following them after that. I know that Spectrum Drop-In Center puts out requests for meals to be cooked for the youth that come to the center. So you could see that, and hey, you've got some time this weekend, maybe you can make an extra batch of chili and bring that in on Monday. So that's one of the ways to look. If you're part of an organization, so you could be part of Rotary or Lions or a faith community, there's often volunteer opportunities that come up as a part of being part of that club. So if you're part of a club, we're going to have the Girl Scouts at this event. It's another club for young folks to be able to engage and learn about ways in volunteering. So there's a lot of different ways, and Megan's got some options too for Volunteer Connect. And
Yeah, Volunteer Connection, as I mentioned, we'll put the link up on the screen, but again, one-stop shopping really for similar to what the fair is going to be, a wonderful place to learn what are the nonprofits and what do they need. So that would be a wonderful recommendation. And I always think just talking to friends.
Yeah.
I will learn from friends. What are you doing?
Right.
And again, it's that I need to be asked to volunteer, but please, you don't need to be asked. Please search it out when you can. And the other thing is that the organizations have wonderful pages on their websites. You can fill out applications directly on their websites and get connected that way as well. So, lots of ways to get connected.
I think I just want to kind of chime in here a little bit around volunteering and what volunteering looks like. I think, one of the things I look at is that maybe kind of the 5 T's, if you will. And you're going, what are 5 T's, right?
Yeah.
One is time. If you have some time, we can use your time in so many different, manners and capacities. But one is many of you have talents that you can share with others and different venues. So I think that's my second T. 3, if you can't do either one of those, but again, there's the treasures. If you have some financial capacity, that's another way that you can help the volunteering effort in the nonprofits. Your ties that you have to the community in different aspects, you can connect different organizations together as part of this process and collaborate. So I think that's another piece of volunteering. And then doing testimonials around the organization, and volunteering can also be, again, a big help in, again, recruiting many of our volunteers. So those are your 5 T's for today.
Yes,
Great.
yes.
So again, we're excited about the volunteering fair, and how do we think we're going to keep that momentum going, after the fair?
Yeah, so there's a few ideas that we've been talking about. One of them is we know that this is geared towards all of Franklin County, but it is in St. Albans. And there's a lot of towns in Franklin County that folks, again, if they're trying to make that commute between home and work or home, may not be able to stop by. So we are interested in working with towns that would like to host maybe a smaller one that's more specifically for their town or their region. We're interested in exploring that. Hopefully we'll do this again next year. And if folks are connected to the organizations that they meet at the volunteer fair, hopefully they'll be able to make additional connections throughout the year.
Megan, anything you'd like to add to that?
We always are trying to get out with information about volunteering. So we do a biweekly column where we will highlight about 5 or 6 different current needs, and we send those to local papers and post them and businesses. And always do look at our social media, because we will occasionally highlight a nonprofit's needs. So lots of different ways to get the word out.
Okay. So why don't we talk a little bit about, again, there's been so many individuals that are already providing community service and supporting so many different organizations. And I think part of it is they get as much benefit from the volunteering as the individuals being served. So, but what are a couple of inspiring stories around volunteering that really, demonstrates that you can truly make a difference? Erin?
Sure. So in my role with the Vermont Department of Health, I get to work with an amazing group of volunteers called the Medical Reserve Corps, and they're in the state of readiness. They train and they practice and they go and take education on how to serve their community in a time of a public health emergency. We as a community and a world experienced a public health emergency with the COVID-19 pandemic. And our volunteers were very much a part of that response. And one of the most meaningful days for not just myself, but our volunteers that were there that day was the first day that we offered vaccinations for the first age band. If folks remember, we did it initially by age band. And so this was our neighbors that were 80 years old or older. And the joy in that room and the relief that folks were feeling, the celebration, there was some anxiety too, but our volunteers got to be a part of that moment in history.
Right.
And their years of training really paid off to support our families at that time.
Megan?
Well, I can't leave here today without talking about the role that volunteers play in delivering Meals on Wheels. Age Well Vermont has over 1,100 volunteers that make the Meals on Wheels program happen. And you asked about what could volunteering look like. Volunteers just two days a month, and they have their route, and they go through their route. They know their folks who they're delivering to, and what's so essential about not only are they delivering a meal, it's that check-in that could be that person's one point of contact with another human that day or that week. So I've had the honor of shadowing a Meals on Wheels volunteer, and it's just amazing to see the care these volunteers put in to knowing the people they're delivering to. This is the morning that they may be off to the pharmacy, so maybe I can leave it. It's okay to leave the meal here today. So every town in Franklin County needs more Meals on Wheels volunteers. So just the number of humans it takes to make that program go, and that they're volunteers, is amazing. And so I for sure had to talk about this today.
Well, I have a similar experience they had a Grab and Go program,
Yeah.
which had prepared a meal for those, again, that could be using the assistance. And so over the 2 years, I've gotten to know those people. So if they didn't show up to pick up their meal, it was
Yeah.
like, why? And so again,
huge.
you do that follow-up, everything okay? And
Yeah.
you get to know them and really
Yeah.
find a real connection with these people, and they really appreciate it. And so it's very touching, very touching.
And one thing I want to point out about that program is Age Well very much welcomes corporate groups. So if your business wants to pick
That's
up
correct.
2 shifts a month, what a wonderful team building experience, and a way to give back to community for your business. So, please consider that if you're a business looking to volunteer.
Great. So at this point, where can people go to learn more about the volunteering fair if they haven't heard about it, other than from today?
Yes. So we're going to share on the screen a QR code that folks can use their phone to access, and it'll take you to a page where it'll link to any social media posts that we have about it, or a sign-up sheet, or information on the event that you could save on social media. But it will also have a way that you can sign up just to get more information. This is not something that we're going to spam you long-term on. We just want to be able to say, hey, don't forget, it's coming up. Hey, we have a new volunteer organization that just signed on. So those would be very infrequent emails, but they would be reminders that the event is upcoming.
So Megan, if they can't attend, what do you suggest they do?
Volunteer Connection.
Absolutely. So thank you. As we've heard today, volunteering isn't just about giving your time. It's about building connections, strengthening our community, and being part of something bigger than ourselves. We hope you'll join us at the upcoming Community Volunteering Fair, where you can meet, again, a number of local organizations, find opportunities that fit your interests, and take that first step towards making a difference. The fair again takes place on May 22nd at St. Albans City Hall from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m., and it's open to everyone, whether you're a student, a retiree, a working professional, or simply someone who wants to help. I want to thank so much for our wonderful guests, Erin Creeley and Megan Bridges, for their engagement and leadership with the fair and sharing their thoughts and experiences, and thank you for watching. We'll see you at the fair.